Okay, let's get back into our program. So we hope you enjoyed lunch, and now we have a intercultural talk for our international students, but of course also everyone else is welcome here. And first of all, we're going to have Eva, and she's going to talk about the Master International Students Mentoring Program, and then Tim is going to tell you a bit about the experience in Germany.
Hi, thanks you so much for the introduction. So I'm Eva Kettel. Whenever you see me around, just talk to me and ask me. And I'm responsible for Compass at Masterplus. So what is that exactly? Compass at Masterplus is our computer science peer assistance and student support. In short, international peer mentoring for master students. Our aim is to welcome you here at the university, and I'm so happy to see so many international students here. And we will support you in your first semester, help you to find the right person to talk to solve your problems, to just accommodate you here so you feel welcome and can start smoothly in your studies. What we do offer is contact with experienced international students, if I would like to ask you to the front. We will send you some practical information over the course of the semester, and there are social activities that you can join to get to know other students and to connect. So, and that's the what our mentoring is, but the really most important question is who is our mentoring? And these are our international mentors. They're experienced international master students who know the university, who know the department, and I would like to ask you to introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Bilal. This is my third semester here in Masters, and I know some of you guys. I'm gonna be accompanying you during Master Plus, so I could highly recommend you joining our events and asking us questions whenever you got some. Thanks.
Hey everyone, this is Tanaz, and you're very welcome to the university, and all the international new faces, welcome. And we try to take care of you in any position, any question, any crisis, just reach out for us. We try to take care of you guys.
Hello everyone, I am Fazilat and I'm studying also computer science here, and welcome in Darmstadt. I hope everything is well for you and we are happy to help. If there is anything we can do, we are here.
Hi everyone.
To either forward you to the person who can help or help you directly. And of course, you're very, very welcome to join our Telegram group. This is the QR code where you can log in and join the group. And in this group, we will share regular updates. You can connect with other new international students there. And of course, you can stay in touch with us. You can ask us questions. You can ask each others. So please join the group. You are welcome. And now I would like to ask you something. Please take out your phones, take out your tablets. You can join online as well. Scan the QR code because I have a very short questionnaire for you. 2 questions. Already so far? Does it work? Can you give me a short hands up or all good? Okay, thanks a lot. Yeah, I see numbers rising, 37, very nice. So, on to the first question. In which country did you complete your undergraduate, e.g. bachelor's or equivalent degree? So we would like to know where you come from. Okay. Egypt, India, Pakistan, Iran, Korea, Poland, France. Wow, we have quite a big group this year. Quite right. Wales, very nice. That's not a country, but I like Wales. Vietnam, Ukraine, United States, welcome here, Singapore. Okay. On to the next question. If you have not completed your undergraduate degree in Germany, have you already heard from us from Compass at Masterclass before today? So this should tell us how far we have reached you, or if we should try to connect a bit better with you. Okay. I see we are about 50-50. Okay. Thanks a lot for your feedback. That helps us a lot to support you better in the future. And I would say, back to the Intercultural talk.
Check. Alles gut? Sound? Laut? Leise? Wow, laut. Okay, anyways. Welcome again. You will see my face probably twice again after this talk, if you attend everything. Right, thanks as well. That's keeping away workload from me. Student advisory, so very helpful mentoring system. Get in touch with them. And I want to talk a bit about intercultural experience, specifically, of course, in Germany. But let's start with the question, what's culture anyways? Because if we talk about such things like culture, it makes sense to have at least somewhat a common point of view. So what's culture? Essentially everything. Really, essentially everything is culture. The civilization, the code of conduct, religion, traditions, affinities, environment, and. So it's really a big bunch of topics that's covered by the sheer phrase culture. And even more of interest probably, the visible part is a very small part. That's the easy part, right? It's something like virtual arts, the music, the storytelling of a country, and. But the subconscious cultural aspects are usually hidden. And that's where culture shocks are usually stemming from. So my first question is actually, has any one of you, the international students, of course, essentially, I mean, probably the Germans as well, if they move from Bavaria to Hesse? What's your experience? Have you encountered some kind of culture shock? And I don't mean necessarily really a shock, right? But something that surprised you. We said, why? I don't get it. Why are they behaving so strange? Something like that. German web design. Try to find a course description handbook on an Indian university website. I tried. 5 years ago, they still had blink tags on their websites. But yeah, I get the point. I'd say a lot of Germans don't really go for the look that much. And not even the functionality as well. So fair enough, good point. Anything else? Something? In regular daily life, probably. Too much? Too much mail. Paper. So postal mail. But if it's not printed, it doesn't exist. So some things actually have to, legal base, whatever. And I really don't get it, but yes, for advertisement, this free advertisement, it seems to work. I mean, they're spending, I don't know how much money, and no one I know actually reads the advertisement you receive almost every day in your letter case, and they still go for it. So apparently it works out for them, whysoever. I think that several trees are dying each year just for unnecessary advertisement in your mail case. Yeah, fair enough. Any other things? Walking around the cities. We will get back to that later. All right. Why is that not working anymore? Wow. Okay, I know the slides. Theoretical computer scientist. All right. So, and how to deal with the culture shock? That's interesting. Because, I mean, you could just say, I don't like that, I'm leaving. Your decision. I'd rather say, participate actively in foreign cultures. Get to know the locals. Get to know the different cultures. Ask questions. Of course, don't be impolite, but ask questions. How should you know? I mean, there's usually a reason for behavior at some point. It might be an individual reason or a cultural difference. And it's sometimes so astounding what you can learn if you just ask simple questions like, why are you keeping this very old fish in your fridge? And then you will probably get explained what the people are eating in their home countries, and then you can still say no. I would recommend to say no to some of the food. On the other hand, I was eating street food on the streets of India when I was backpacking there for 5 weeks. Awesome! So probably just try it out. Be always aware of your own culture. You don't have to give up your own culture. I mean, and that's a discussion we have worldwide, unfortunately, nowadays. It's not about assimilation. It's just about understanding each other and getting around with each other. So keep your own culture, right? And be aware what defines you. Try to find out why they are acting the way, and just try to reflect your own emotions and actions as well. Sometimes you just automatically react in a specific way, but it's probably not necessary, right? And Anais Nin said, we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. And I think that's 100% true. There is no objective point of view. The best you can reach is intersubjectiveness. So trying to get abstract as possible and try to get a different point of view. But it will always be your personal point of view. So, all right. So that's just the introduction. Now it's getting a bit more in the direction of your situation. Universities in Germany, because cultural differences exist on every level, everywhere. And it's mainly not private, public universities, right? Also public funded or defunded in our case. Therefore, no high fees and a lot of freedom of science for the lecturers and whatever, but also not as much advisory, not as much support. We can't afford. You're not customers. Like in the UK or the US, they're talking about you as customers. Probably not in your face, but if you ask them, right, paying customers. You're definitely not here in Germany. So, your expectations may be a little wrong. We expect you to inform yourself and organize yourself. And what you definitely can show at the very end, meta competencies. Because if you can manage to finalize a degree, you showed sufficient self-organizational skill, self-motivational skill, and self-reflectiveness. If you have those 3 meta competencies on a sufficient level, you will get our degrees. If not, let's see. And what we also have, a strong participation of students. The Students' Council, the ASTA, the committees, whatever, they're included in almost every decision in the departments or the universities. Sometimes it turns out in a good way for the students, sometimes not so much at least, but at least we try to listen to the students. Besides Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg. No ASTA allowed there. And what stems from all those points is you have a lot of autonomy in the universities as well. No all-round services. You have to be self-responsible. And if in question, just drop by and ask, right? I mean, that's fine. If you drop by and force us to answer your questions, that's completely fine, but you have to do the same. We are not going to proactively provide all the information to you, right? So in order to not miss important information, ask fellow students, connect to each other, and if in doubt, just drop by one of our consultation hours and just ask. Just at a glance, right? There are several differences as well, besides what I just mentioned. Okay, so you're now in Germany, you're now at a German university, and you probably live in Germany as well. Different types of accommodations, private apartments, dormitories, studio apartments, shared flat, WG, Wohngemeinschaft. That's the typical studentical way to live. I lived in my shared flat for 13 years. And when the youngest ones started calling me granddad, I moved together with my girlfriend. They were actually asking questions like, how can we manage a new contract for electricity? And I was like, oh fuck, I'm too old for that. But time of my life, promised, right? And you can get that real estate agents, not so much anymore, by the private market, or the dormitories exist and so on and so forth. Okay, let's assume you have an accommodation somewhat. There are, of course, several things you have to have an eye on, and if you want to change your accommodation as well. I mean, is it a limited or unlimited contract? Is there an automatic renewal of the contract? Is there an annual rent increase included? What's the contract payment per month, per year, per half year? Do I have to do some deposit payment? And. What are those Nebenkosten they're talking about the whole time through? And it's actually, the rental is split into several parts. And there's the so-called Kaltmiete. If you encounter something like Kaltmiete, it essentially means that's the base rent. And an arbitrary amount of money comes on top. So way better would be actually Warmmiete, and that's just an educated guess, usually. Because it comes down to your assumption of course, as well. What you do have is gas, electricity, usually included in the contract payment monthly, half yearly, yearly, and whatever. But also something like property tax, water, trash collection, stairwell cleaning. We will get back to stereotypes of Germans later. A lot of details. Sometimes not really legal. So if in doubt, try to get someone cross-check the contract before you sign it and submit it, right? There are facilities for the same. Ask German fellow students who have a bit of experience in that, or something like that. And always make sure that you have the specific rules for the house, the accommodation, or in the contract in mind. Like, for example, laundry often is done in the basement, not in the flat. Sometimes it's even forbidden to do that in your own flat. Bicycles. Sometimes forbidden in the stairwell, sometimes forbidden in the garage, sometimes forbidden in the cellar, sometimes forbidden in your flat. There should be some place where you can put your bike. If not, I recommend the parking slots for bikes outside of our building. Pets, you always need the permission of a landlord to have a pet. Doesn't matter how small of size the pet is. Bugs, probably not. You will probably have bugs anyways. Damage. If there's a damage, there are things the landlords are responsible for and things you are responsible for. If something happens with gas, the water, or the electric lines, inform the landlord. Don't use it anymore. Run for your life. At least, don't try to solve it on your own. That's the responsibility of your landlords, right? And they will buy the cheapest workers, and it will take ages, but at least you don't have to pay for the same. Loud noises. There are legally given periods of times, differing in between cities, sometimes a bit, but in general, there are specific times where you have to be quieter. But sometimes you have regulations in the house, right, or the dormitory, with specific times. And then it essentially comes down to your neighbors. And we have very shitty neighbors in Germany as well. So a lot of things you can have an eye on. And we will get back to the stereotype of Germans loving rules quite soon. Almost everything is overregulated in Germany. And it's always written down, usually on paper. So you should be able to identify all the necessary information here. Another thing, and here again, my greeting to the colleagues in the US. Mandatory health insurance. Still no communists. And it works. Crazy. Health insurance system. And you, of course, need one, or the foreign one got accepted. Everyone who got that accepted most likely talked to Ms. Memminger, I think, if she's still working there. And it covers basic hospital care, registered doctor's care, basic dental care. It covers a lot more, but the ways to reach the same is a bit more complicated. Usually, if you need to see a specialist, you need to get a so-called Überweisung from your general practitioner, which can take ages. Or you just wait till it's an emergency and drop by in the hospital. Emergency room is usually open, and they hate it when people drop by just for random nonsense. But yeah, so a lot of things that are covered. Probably the most important information on this slide is always have your Krankenversicherungskarte with you. And that's really not a joke. That's probably one of the first things you get asked when you see a doctor, regardless where, rather either in hospital or in their own, I don't even know the word, Praxis, where they work. Do you have your Krankenversicherungskarte with you? And the correct and only correct answer is yes, of course, right? There are several emergency numbers. If in doubt, call 112 or 110 for police, actually. But if you definitely know that you got poisoned, there's a specific poison emergency number, for example. And you can look up a whole bunch of emergency phone numbers you can reach, even if you don't have good connectivity on your mobile, usually. So a lot of interesting things you can have an eye on when it comes down to insurance, specifically medical system. If you need to see specialists, prepare for long waiting times. Unfortunately, almost the same situation in all university cities in Germany, almost in all cities in Germany. It can really make sense to broaden your search. You have the public transportation ticket. And just as an example, for some medical reasons, Wiesbaden has a lot of free appointments. Darmstadt booked solid for the next year, right? Frankfurt, some other areas of medicine. So extend your search. It's getting even worse if you need some psychological treatment. Then probably leave the cities a bit. because that should ease the possibility to find an appointment in due time. The German government is working proactively since decades to lower the quality of our medical system, and they're on a good way. So probably use it now, as long as it still exists. All right. German love rules. What do you think? It's true? Just nod, shake your head, whatever. Do you think German love rules in general? I personally would agree. There's almost always some kind of structure, regulation system or whatever. Specific procedures to follow. We have an abundance of laws, really, regulating almost everything. I don't really know if it's not explicitly allowed, it's automatically forbidden. Or is it the other way around? I think it's that way in Germany. Anyway, that's one of the culture shocks a lot of people encounter. Not so much in the cities, not so much with the younger nowadays, but you will still see a lot of people, middle of the night, no car on the street whatsoever, no one. And still the people are waiting for the pedestrian light to get green. And of course, specifically if kids are around, because we all got trained, be a good example. It's dangerous to cross the red light. Always wait for the green light, specifically if small kids are around. And it happens to me. Wasted as hell, bloody drunk. Midnight, oh, red light. Ah, green. It's an automatism. So yeah, that's definitely something that's true. And you will get nasty looks if you don't do the same. Probably not talking to you, but you will try to see the looks, right? It's like, I saw you breaking the law. And it's actually, if you get caught by the police, you will get a fine. So it's actually legal if you get caught. So we will get back to that also. Do I have the slides? I think so. I'm not really sure. You have a lot of different garbage disposal bins. High fees if you put the wrong material in the wrong bin. If in doubt, the general one, almost everything is allowed. But we're recycling a lot. Not nearly as good as the Japanese do. When I was last time in Tokyo, I encountered a 12-page description for garbage distinction with several different plastics and paper and whatever. We were there with the German Judo Association, fan trip to the Judo World Championship. And I actually tried to force my colleagues to visit the garbage disposal site in Tokyo. They give tours. As a German, that would be so interesting. Even more sorting out than we do. And we're not making it easy for the internationals. The color depends on the city or the part of the city. So sometimes paper goes into a green bin, sometimes into a blue bin, sometimes blue is for glass, sometimes I don't fucking know. So try to figure that out for wherever you live. And throw the right things into the right garbage bin. And that the fees got really high last year. So I wouldn't recommend to use the wrong bin. And we usually, every house usually has plastic and metal, specific types of metal and plastic, not everything. Paper, organic waste, and a general garbage bin. And then sometimes you also have glass and. If not, then you do have collection sites where you can just dispose glass and whatever. And now the bonus question for the Germans. We have the three colors, white, green, and brown. Where to throw the blue bottles in? Nah, Germans in the room? Huh? Wo wird blaues Glas reingeschmissen? It's green. Or brown. Actually, it doesn't matter. No one will ever check that. Green. Green would be the right answer, yeah. But yeah, that's even though everything is regulated, we still miss additional information from time to time in Germany. Annoys me as hell as a German. Under-regulated. And just to show how fixed Germans are on regulations and rules and whatever, in every city, in every location, there is a governmental office called Ordnungsamt, and that literally translates to Office of Order. Those are the people running around fining you because they have less power, but they would love to have more power, and they will show you that they have power. And they're really running around. So and it really differs. Mannheim, I think 40 euros if you throw away a cigarette, and you get caught. Darmstadt, I think it's 25 euros at the moment. So it's cheaper to throw your cigarette away here. Or just use an ashtray, right? And that's what they are actually working on. So they are just running around, controlling whether you park correctly, whether you throw your garbage in the right bin, whether you pollute the environment, whether you're too loud in the night, for example, and. Interesting people. Coming back to garbage. Clothes and shoes, also something. I personally had an interesting encounter last week. Since last year, how to dispose clothes has changed, the rules. And you're now not allowed to throw it in your personal bin at home anymore. You have to use the specific clothes disposal bins, but only if packed in the right bag, closed, washed, only if they can still be used. For the other ones, there are different bins, and. We cleaned up our cellar. And there is the so-called Wertstoffhof, where you can just, if you have a lot of paper, metals, wood, something like that, where you can get rid of that for a few euros, if you live in Darmstadt, for example. And we just tried and packed 2 big bags of usable, used clothes, and non-usable anymore used clothes in our car. And I was like, I assume you don't take them anymore, right? And he was like, come on. And the whole car cost me €0 because he was shortly before his few-day holiday and was like, come on. It costs you a thank you. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. So if in doubt, probably those are the locations to go to. Furniture. Every citizen has the right to order garbage disposal for furniture or electronic devices once a year at least, and there are calendars where you can just make an appointment, and sometimes it works. I was living on the Rhönring in my shared flat for 13 years. We solved the issue in a completely different way. When we wanted to get rid of something, we just put it on the street, and the next morning it vanished. Magic. Sometimes completely different stuff was there instead, so that was a bit of a drawback because then we had to call someone to fetch some foreign stuff. But in a lot of cases it just worked out. Not a recommendation, illegal, high fine. Another stereotype that's definitely somewhat true at least, Germans are punctual. So better be early than late. That's impolite. Specifically if someone's waiting for you, like lecture or something. It's somewhat a bit of a respect, actually, against the other side. When a former student came back from Brazil, we talked a bit about intercultural differences that time. He was like, I so hate it when I drop by to an appointment too late. And in Brazil, I learned when you make an appointment with friends, they will show up, but probably 2 hours later. But they will show up. And they're angry as hell if you left in the meantime. If you get invited in Brazil to party and you're on time, you will most likely surprise the person giving the party. So that's completely different. In Germany, it's like, okay, yeah, we give you 5 minutes to prepare the party, but 5 minutes after we got invited, we're there. And then, open end, right? On the same line of thought, train and bus schedules are given in exact minutes. And people expect the trains and buses to be on time, still, with all the experience we had in the last years. Have you ever traveled around with a public transportation system lately? What do you think? How on time? Nowadays you can be happy. The new goal of the German train company thingy, Deutsche Bahn, 50% of the trains should run in time in 2030. That's their official goal since last year. It's like, what? And they have a lot of tricks. For example, a train is not counted as too late if they just skip it completely. And you have a right to get compensation if the train is later than X minutes. That's the reason why the trains are not coming then. And you have to take the next one, right? So they're getting around all the fees, the reductions, the compensations, and the statistics. Plus, now they introduce some extra money for streets and train routes and whatever. So everywhere, construction sites are popping up. So essentially, my recommendation, for example, to commute to Wiesbaden is walk or go by bike. It takes ages, but at least at some point you will reach Wiesbaden. I fetched my girlfriend in Wiesbaden, in Frankfurt at the airport, Groß-Gerau, Weiterstadt in the last year because the train just stopped or didn't run or whatever. And that's just one example. That's Wikipedia. How embarrassing is that? On the other hand, the post buses in Switzerland, in the middle of nowhere, you just walk out of the forest, there's a bus stop, it's like, I'm a bit tired. Oh, the next bus should run in 7 minutes and 30 seconds. In exactly 7 minutes and 30 seconds, the bus will arrive. And regardless of how many people get in or out, they will reach every stop in due time. I have no idea how they do that. Really, no idea. But only the buses. I started 3 years ago with a sentence, the public transportation system in Switzerland. And a Swiss student was like, not anymore. But, fun fact, they're forbidding German trains to enter the Switzerland because the German trains are disturbing the schedule of the Swiss train system too much. That was even more funny. That was so, I like that. I have a car. Okay, coming back to the insurance thing. Besides the health insurance, we have a lot of insurance possibilities. Essentially, you can insure yourself or whatever you own against almost everything. Personal liability, household. I would really recommend a household insurance, right? I wouldn't recommend a pet insurance if you don't own a pet. Or a bike insurance if you don't own a bike. That doesn't really make sense. We have a mandatory unemployment insurance in Germany if you work here. And if you work for too much money per month, you actually have to pay that as well. Thanks if I ever get unemployed then. Life insurance, travel insurance, death insurance. Not enlisted here. To cover the costs for coffins and everything. That's quite costly, right? So essentially you can insure everything in Germany. try to figure out in what situation you're in detail in, which insurances are really helpful, useful under certain situations. Go for that. A lot of them are really cheap. Some insurances are like €7 a year, actually, but can cover X thousands of euros if something gets harmed, right? So sometimes it really makes sense. Have an eye on it. Otherwise, just have fun with it, right? So that's definitely something. Another stereotype is the German is an ugly language. Nah. Don't know. It's a very subjective statement. We do have several cool things in the German language. Unfortunately, the law is not existing anymore, so it has been removed, but last year it was still the longest word in the German dictionary. Rinderkennzeichnungsfleisch, Etikettierungs-, Überwachungsaufgaben, Übertragungsgesetz. I got asked a year ago whether I can translate that. Yes, I can, but it's the Bovine Identification, Meat Labeling, Monitoring, Task Transfer Act. We can just combine nouns, it's so cool. So I don't think that it's really an ugly language. It might be an interesting language if you're not used to it, right? And like all other languages, we of course do have ambiguity. And not only the written part, but it's really important how someone pronounces it, for example. Like yes, the German word ja, yes. Ja, 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 ja. So a lot of different meanings just by the pronunciation. And then probably some of you have conducted German classes already up to some level. And just to make it interesting, so let's assume we have the sentence, das glaube ich nicht, I don't believe it. A1, literally translated, right? Das glaube ich nicht. A2, a bit more interesting, das kann nicht sein, that can't be. B2, das kann ich mir nicht vorstellen. I can't imagine that. I doubt it. I think it's quite unlikely. And now, for the native speakers who are aware of the idioms, als ob. I really don't think that there's any ugly language in the world. Every language is interesting if you dive deep into it. It's not easy to pronounce sometimes, not easy to learn it sometimes or whatever, but I think ugly is the wrong word. Hazardous, probably German language. But in every other language, in Russia, in Russian language, for example, I mean, niet, soft pronunciation, niet. Da. So, heh? And it's interesting to compare the languages, specifically if you want to go for natural language processing, for example, something like that, linguistics, right? But in general, you will get to know the others better if you dive a bit into the language. Als ob, it sounds harsh if you translate it, as if, right? But it's usually not meant in any bad way. It's just something one learns, right? Als ob. So that's something you should have an eye on. And now, let's see some more stereotypes. And let's have a short poll whether it's right or not. What do you think? Beer is on place 4 or 5 nowadays. Water, coffee, for example, tea, way more often consumed than beer. Well, let's be honest. If you drink 2 beers in the morning before you start working, it doesn't really make sense anyways, right? I mean, it's nicer to work then, but the quality. Sausages, yes, but that holds true for Poland, for example, as well. And a lot of other countries mid-Europe. But yeah, of course, we do love our sausages. Pun intended. And you can buy Wiener, not stemming from Wien. You can buy Frankfurter, not stemming from Frankfurt. They will be called differently in other cities. So it's really interesting how the Germans use the different words for sausages as well. And potatoes, yes, yes, yes. Because we were poor at that time, and we had to feed the poor, and so they introduced potatoes. German love cars. What do you think? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not each and everyone, but there are a lot of people who are falling in love with their cars. Ooh, don't ever touch a tuned car. You will instantly get killed. But that's why they are so angry when something happens, when they have an accident, for example. I personally always thought it's something to use. I'm not buying expensive cars, I'm not tuning them. It's like, ah. And then observe Germans getting to know how they park in France. And that you actually shouldn't have the brake in, because they will just move your car with their cars to make it fitting. I rented a car, so not even my own. Went to southern France and encountered that live. I was just leaving my car, walking away. Okay, parked. Went out, everything was fine. I was like, excuse me. So, damn, my French is not that good. Je ne parle pas en français parce que la grammaire est difficile, je comprends rien. If you tell that fast enough to a French person, just walk away, sometimes it works out. German food is terrible. You essentially agree, yes? So it's, which one? Labskaus. Mit oder ohne Mayo? Ooh, the Swabians would kill you for the without Mayo statement. That's national food in the Swabian area. Schlonsig. Es muss schön schlonsig sein. Potato salad. Probably because we're so used to potatoes. But in general, German food, I mean, come on, German McDonald's, German Subways. Something that was actually in that form, in the bread, invented in Berlin, Döner kebab. I mean, kebab definitely existed before in Turkey, but the specific form was invented in Berlin. So you could call it German food. Teşekkür ederim to the Turkish friends for dinner. Thank you. Germans celebrate Christmas in the snow. For the Germans, can you remember when you have celebrated Christmas in the snow the last time, and when you have not been in holidays? One, two. What do you think? How often in the last 100 years was Germany completely covered in snow at Christmas? A bit more than one. 5 times. Completely. I mean, in the mountain areas, sure, you will have snow most likely. Not necessarily directly at Christmas, a little later sometimes, but the northern you go, the lower to sea level you get, the warmer it is in the winter, in average. My grandparents are stemming from the area near Hamburg. I don't know how often I actually have seen snow at Christmas, but it's still the picture, why so ever? Because they misjudge us with the Austrians, probably. I don't know. Germans stop at every red traffic light. I would recommend to do so. There are photo booths located nearby the traffic light sometimes, and you will get nice pictures of yourself. 16 kilometers too fast outside of a city, just 50 euros. 21 kilometers faster than allowed outside of the city, 1 month no driving allowance, 1 point in Flensburg, that for the internationals, forget about that, and way much more money. We managed to keep it with 16 kilometers per hour the last time. And we knew the location actually. The Oktoberfest as the epitome of German culture. Huh? What do you think? Everyone's running around with leather trousers, Tracht. Huh? Depends where, yeah, if you're in the countryside in Bavaria or in Austria, that's not the countryside. I mean, Englischer Garten. No, it's really, no. I mean, and we do have Tracht everywhere in Germany, actually, but besides some fairs or something, no one is usually running around the whole time through with that. Sometimes they celebrate it from time to time, actually, in different areas. And Oktoberfest is so specific, Southern German. Ask someone from Kiel or Hamburg what they think of the Oktoberfest, and they're like, what? We do have the fish market. Labskaus. I can recommend Labskaus. If you have not tasted Labskaus, probably afterwards you will state that German food is ugly. Germans wear socks and sandals. Unfortunately, yes, that's true. But the Dutch and the English from time to time as well. But yeah, unfortunately the Germans tend to do that a lot. And it got trendy lately. I mean, okay. There is no objective point of view. My mother owns a shop selling clothes. My father, deco designer. I have a very specific point of view on aesthetics. And I don't know why the youngers are running around that ugly. And they're really running around socks and sandals, and it's trendy. I don't know why. For me, it looks really awful. Germans reserve the best seats at the pool. Huh? Unfortunately true as well. They still do the towel thingy. Mine! I don't know why. Everything works in Germany. Wait till the live demo of Toucan tomorrow. Germans are unfriendly. I think there's a misjudgment here. Germans tend to be quite direct, and that can be felt like it's unfriendly, but it's usually not meant to be unfriendly. But of course, I mean, there are assholes everywhere, right? So essentially, yes, you will encounter unfriendly Germans, as you will encounter unfriendly non-Germans. But in general, I think it's a misunderstanding, actually, of how Germans behave in communication. A lot are, including myself, quite direct. If I don't like something, I will directly tell you in your face. And I'm not going to just make any flattering comments or whatever just to have the atmosphere nice or something. That's not how I am. But that really doesn't mean that I want to be unfriendly. But if you encounter the situation, resolve it directly. Ask, right? So, whoa, I'm not used to, and whatever, and then they usually adjust in the communication as well. One of our neighbors is actually unfriendly. The Germans know everything better. Because we do. No. I think, again, here, misunderstanding. Adding unnecessary information to be helpful can lead to the impression that we want to know everything better. No, it's usually no, right? Recht haben. On the other hand, you will encounter this phrase, Recht haben, quite often in Germany. So, to be correct, to have the right on your side, the legal base on your side, Recht haben. So it has somewhat importance in Germany, but I think it's not meant as knowing everything better. It's just a different point of view, probably. And the weather is bad in Germany. Yes, way too much sun outside. I hate that as hell. It could be a bit more cloudy from my point of view. I really love rain, specifically in spring because I'm allergic. So shit weather outside at the moment, right? But I essentially disagree. And those are stereotypes you will find in the internet if you talk to people, and they're just examples. And as you can see, some are right, some are not. Ask them. Dive into the culture, speak with people. If you don't want to speak to someone else, speak with me. I'm honest, promised. Because I know everything better. All right. So that's essentially it. I just want to introduce one further word. Eierschalen-Sollbruchstellenverursacher. Because I don't think that there's an official correct translation in English. Eierschalen-Sollbruchstellenverursacher. It's the actual breaker. But a very specific one. Because it has to be precise and everything has to work. And they are never working how they should. You have a small metallic bowl. It's hard to explain. Just buy one. You can get them almost everywhere. Eierschalen-Sollbruchstellenverursacher. For the non-Germans, that's something you have to have. All right. So I hope I made the point clear. We can benefit from each other. Culture is something interesting. Don't hesitate. Get in touch with fellow students. Ask for the reasons. Try to get something out of it for you, right? I'm wishing you a pleasant intercultural exchange here in the next years, month, whatsoever. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for your attention. Was? Zu Intercultural Talk. Fragen. Okay, nein.
Okay, so now that we're finished with the intercultural talk 1 hour earlier than planned. No, we will just start with the get-together now. So now we will have a get-together at the LZE, so where you had the breakfast this morning. If you were there, I will also walk you down, so you can just follow me if you don't know where that is. And then later we will have GNOME, which is short for Games No Machines. So it's basically a board game evening. You can get together, meet some people, play some board games. And parallel to that, we're going to have a city tour. And it's going to be a bit of a special city tour. So most of you probably already know like the inner city. So we are going to show you a bit of Darmstadt that is not just the inner city. So if you want to join that, yeah, we will do that then after the get-together. And tomorrow, I'll just give you the plan for tomorrow. Tomorrow we will then have breakfast at 9 again. If you want to, you don't have to be there. And we will also have account activation tomorrow. So if your accounts are not activated yet, you can then go there tomorrow and somebody will help you there. And yeah, lots of other stuff, IT systems, IT infrastructure, the library tour. Yeah, so see you now or see you later, yeah, or tomorrow. And now we will go down to the LZI.
you.